And we're live. Welcome everyone. Welcome to my kitchen. My name is LauraJHall and you are on the Come Cook With Me show. We're live here in Daphne, Alabama. And I am so excited to be sharing with you, I don't know, this happens to be some of our favorite food. I mean, if you know, we probably eat Mexican like weekly. It's just something that we do. We just love it to death. So it's in honor of Cinco de Mayo. We have an extraordinary week this week. We have Cinco de Mayo. We've got today is Derby for all my friends and family that are in Kentucky. It's Derby. We call it Thursday at Derby. And this is Derby weekend. So it's the biggest weekend in Louisville. It's just one of the most spectacular things. So if you have never gone, I definitely recommend you to go. But today, we're going to be making several recipes, and I know if you're brand new and you're just watching, don't worry, you might not see the recipes just yet. When the video is over, I'll be posting the recipe in the post. And let me tell you, I worked really hard at making sure that every single recipe that has been cooked today or has been prepared is in that post. So you're going to be so happy because we have the salsa recipe. We have the black bean recipe, and the black beans are over there. They were already cooked. I'm going to show them to you in a minute. We have the vegan vegetarian options. We have the regular traditional, just really crazy yummy. And we also have the slow cooker, and I'm going to show you that slow cooker in just a minute because it has been done. It's been sitting on warm. It has been ready to go. Now, the only thing that I didn't do with this recipe, but I'm going to follow up with it on Cinco de Mayo, I'm going to actually follow up with the recipe for guacamole. Because this one, because it's a vegetarian optional plant-based chicken bowl, but it's not chicken. I'll show you what the ingredient is over there. I'll show it to you when we get to it. Or a regular chicken bowl. And I've made chicken bowls before, so I switched up this recipe just a smidgen and added a few neat little twists. I really think you're gonna love them. But let's go ahead and get on with the show. Let me show you what's been cooking in this house. It smells heavenly. I'm gonna show you first what we get started with, because if you're following along in the show and you kind of like to know what's going on, I'm gonna show you the first step that we actually take in the kitchen, very first time. I'm very big on roasted garlic. This one, we actually have poblano peppers and roasted garlic. So let me show you what's remaining over there. I'm saving those because we are going to be having a big celebration on Sunday, as many people probably are on Cinco de Mayo. So I'll show you how we got them started, but I'm going to actually save the rest of these. So we started with there was 2 bags of organic garlic on the bottom. And then I had roasted poblano, or I put the poblanos on top after I washed them. And then I drizzled over avocado oil. And this is what's remaining of the roasted poblanos. Now, we didn't actually roast them until they got crisp. We really want to when the poblanos sweat, that's what you want to do, is get them to that sweaty point. And then that way the garlic won't be too roasted, because you want the garlic to be a little bit more firm, but not as hot as normal garlic would be, and you'll see the hot garlic that we have already put in the food processor when we get to the salsa. But let me go ahead and show you the second step we took in this kitchen, and that was to get these beans ready. So let me show you what they look like. They have been sitting here. I'm going to be putting them in a little saucepan to warm them up a little bit with a little extra salsa. And that's all you have to do if you've made these ahead of time. Now, I actually put some of these in the refrigerator so that they'll be there for Cinco de Mayo on Sunday. So it's multi-purpose night, which is fantastic. But just look, I mixed pinto beans and black beans, and the recipe is just incredible. We use the same spices, so the flavors are all going to be the same. But we did put jalapeno in here, we put a habanero in here, and we put some of those roasted garlic cloves. That was the second thing that we actually did. So those are going to go for tonight. When I take pictures of the meals that are going to be created here, and let me go ahead and show you now what the finished product in the slow cooker looks like. Oh my gosh, it smells so incredible in here. Lift that lid off and it's just great. Now this has been sitting on high. It's cooked for 4 hours on high. I'm gonna just stir it around a little so you can see the chicken. The chicken is just dissolved. It's just spread throughout. And I put 3 chicken breasts in here, and it's just shredded in here. It's just incredibly beautiful. And there are a couple of chunks, which is fine. You want to serve a few chunks to your guests when you serve it. But this was cooking on high for 4 hours, and then I just kept it on warm. But let me go ahead and let me show you what the final outcome looks like. It is just incredible. So wonderful, so healthy. This was made with the lentils and quinoa. And if this is the first time you're seeing the show, I always post pictures so you can see how we serve it and how it turns out, and also so we can taste it. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our pots. You want to get your pressure cookers set up, and we're doing 2 because we have a lot of people who follow us that love that I put these recipes for vegan, vegetarian, so that they're uber healthy. For those of you who know me, I'm a health coach, and I love teaching people how to cook. And a lot of my people that are on my team that I'm coaching, a lot of them are vegan and vegetarian. And so I really love to do recipes on both sides. But we also have the traditional chicken. So we're going to turn them on to saute. So let me do that. Saute, start, and saute, and it just will go ahead and start. And what we want to do is you can get extra virgin olive oil. I picked a robust one for this particular part, but you can use an avocado oil as well. So it's really your choice. I use a non-GMO. All of the products that I use are non-GMO. And GMO stands for genetically modified organisms. In fact, I have a great post I put on my healthy coaching page about GMOs. I think I'm going to actually make it a post that everyone can read, but I probably will do that. Maybe in the feed. But I love getting non-GMO, no genetically modified organisms. We don't need to wreak havoc on our endocrine systems and our bodies, so we really want to stay as healthy as we can, organic whenever possible. And so you're just going to coat the bottom of your pot with your oil of choice. Again, you can use a coconut oil. It's really what your preference is. I just picked a robust olive oil because this is going to be a little spice in this recipe, so you're going to probably want to pick your favorite. All right, so we have that going, and I have already chopped up some garlic. I have in this bowl, I have about 12 garlic cloves. I've got 2 poblano peppers. I have 1 jalapeno and 1 habanero pepper, and I have 1 full diced organic. As much as we could get organic, most of it is, but some of the peppers, that's kind of hard to get organic. So we're just going to go ahead and put those in each of the pots. And we're going to let that heat up. So we're going to saute that until the onions become really translucent. And while they're becoming translucent, we're going to go ahead and add some of our spices and some of our lemon zest. But I'm going to go ahead and do the spices, and I'll show you each one. And I don't measure my spices, it's just I put the actual recommendation in, but I'm not really big on measuring. I know kind of how our flavoring is, but for you specifically, I always say do a teaspoon, teaspoon and a half of each of these spices. So we have, the first one is an ancho chili. Again, if you look at it, it's organic and it's non-GMO. All right, so we're gonna A little bit of both in each. And if you like spice, this is going to be right up your alley. And then we have some chipotle red peppers. They're crushed red peppers. Again, we do the organic, non-GMO. Then we have some cayenne pepper. Again, same thing, organic, non-GMO. And many times I get people who ask me, where do I get my spices? And you know, really, I pretty much shop at Publix because that's my local store. But there are so many good stores out here that have some fantastic recipes. I know there's a Pensacola store I haven't yet to go to. I need to get there because they have some pretty awesome spices, as I've heard. And then we have some sriracha seasoning. Love some sriracha. And then we just have some regular red pepper flake. And one of my favorite seasonings is a Japanese 7-spice. Love the Japanese 7-spice. It actually has some peel of the, oh, I put a little bit on that one. That'll be all right though. We can handle it. We can handle the heat at this house. Oh, that's cooking up nicely. Perfect. Okay, and we have some cumin that we're adding. We love cumin at this house. I don't know a recipe I don't use cumin in. Well, I do. When we were doing the baking series. And then our last one is an Italian seasoning. And it's just an Italian seasoning. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and stir that up. It's almost translucent to where we want to have it. It's a little hot touching the pan. Woo! Spicy! That got to me. Alright, I'm going to hit cancel. And what you want to do now is we're going to go ahead and add in, I'm going to add in just a couple of cilantro leaves. I've just taken the leaves off the stem. Just going to add about 1/8. Just a little bit. Whew, that is spicy. And we're going to zest some lime juice in here. One more. I love this handheld juicer. It is the bomb. So I don't know, raise your hand. If you're watching, feel free to send me some love, get some activity brewing from Facebook. That's how they kind of work. So we're going to add in some diced tomatoes. We use the organic, and I used fire roasted diced tomatoes. And one thing I'd like to point out, as these are just getting in there, one thing I'd love to point out about these tomatoes, or cans in general, I love to try to find boxed items that are organic, but I really have a difficult time. I can find good boxed products, not in cans. And cans are, I'm going to talk about in a second, just from a health perspective. Cans, many cans, the industry lines them with what's called bisphenol A. And that's a plastic lining that leaches into the product. And so we really don't want that because that is an endocrine disruptor in our body. And so you look for cans that have non-PBA lining. But there is a difficulty with that. So I'm just going to point it out to you. So it's GMO, organic, and then over here it'll say non-PBA. The difficulty, you have to kind of go to the website, and I actually like Mirror Glen, but you got to go to the website and see, well, what else did they put in, because they might have used a different liner that's still not good and leaches into the food. So that's why I like to try to find boxed items, boxed tomatoes, if at all possible, that are organic. Now, organic to me is an important feature, so you have to kind of weigh that, right? Okay. So since this is the organic and the vegetarian vegan side, I'm going to go ahead and show you what we're adding next for that one, and it's the vegetable broth. And I love Pacific brands for vegetable broth. You're going to absolutely love it. So tasty. Perfect. All right. And the other thing we're going to add in here are our lentils and our quinoa. So we're going to take our lentils, and I have two different choices. I love Bob's Red Mill, and I also have some Trio color. So there's red, split green, and black, or just use the red lentils. And I'm going to use the red because that's what I use back there, and I want to keep it the same. So I love Bob's Red Mill. They do one of the best jobs at making sure things are organic, non-GMO. I just love Bob's Red Mill. And they're a company in Oregon. You should look them up if you've never heard of them. They're phenomenal, really. They are just phenomenal. So we're doing 1 cup of lentils. And then we are doing 2 cups, and I have Bob's Red Mill quinoa. So we'll be doing 2 cups of the quinoa. And quinoa is one of those, it's a great product if you want to stay away from rice. It's just a better selection, a better choice for your, for what you're making. But in the traditional, I'm going to be using rice because my husband said, could you make one with rice? So since that one was done with quinoa and lentils, and this one is done with quinoa and lentils, I'm just going to do what he's requested because he deserves that. So I'm going to add in a little pink Himalayan salt at the top. And now, a new product that I found today when I did the shopping, and I didn't have enough time to do the come shop with me. So all the ingredients are listed on the recipe as well. But this is it's called Tossables. They're non-GMO, they're organic, they're gluten-free, and they're plant-based protein. And they're just little chunks right there. You can kind of see it on the label. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they taste like. And these happen to be garlic and herb, which is perfect. And I know I opened these, but I might need to get some scissor because I didn't. There we go. I thought I got it open. It's better for us, and vegetarians and vegans still need to get their protein, so we want to load this one down with as much protein as we can. And I think we've accomplished that with the lentils and the quinoa. Oh my goodness, that is ready to go. Beautiful. It just looks gorgeous. All right, so let's go ahead and finish off the traditional. All right, so in the traditional, we are going to be using a bone broth. And so my favorite bone broth, again, is Pacific. It's an organic one. I'm using the chicken one because we're actually using chicken. But this is a really great product. It's, again, one of my favorites. There are several out there. I just look for the ones that are really low sodium because you don't need to have the extra sodium in what you're cooking. Everything that I cook is so flavored with the spices, you really don't need to have additional sodium added. Okay. So we've got those put aside, and I've got a couple of chicken breasts. I've just got 2 here, but you can actually put 3 or 4. But because I have the chicken back there, I figured we'll have enough. So I'm just going to dump those in. I've already washed those. They were sitting in the refrigerator. Okay, and this is ready to go as well. That is so simple, so easy. So easy. So I'm going to take these ladles out. I'm going to put the tops on, and we're going to get them started, making sure I didn't forget anything. Oh, wait. I didn't do I'm thinking, wait, something doesn't look right. Yeah, I'm sure you're watching and you're seeing it. Yeah, we need to do the same. Brad said he wanted rice, so I have the rice right here. So we'll add in the rice. It's 2 cups. Same as what you were gonna do with the quinoa. And I'm still adding in the lentils. He won't know they're in there, and they're so good for us. So, we'll be adding in a cup of lentils. Ooh, it looks funny. Oh, that is almost like to the T perfect. I'm just gonna open that bag up, get them completely out. Perfect. Outstanding. Now it looks ready to go. So crazy. Isn't that funny? Have you ever forgotten to like put something in a recipe and you're like, oh my gosh, let me stop. I think we did that once recently in the kitchen. And I showed you how you could just open it and it's fine before it actually hits the pressure. So I love how safe these devices are. All right, I'm gonna add these lids. Make sure when you put your lids on that they are turned to vent off and the lid is down perfectly, otherwise it won't vent or it won't pressurize. And you get it down, and you're gonna set your cookers to manual. There we go, pressure. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it down to 8 to 10 minutes. And I'm just gonna go ahead and do these at 8 minutes because I wrote in the recipe 10, but I think 8 minutes is just gonna be absolutely perfect. And you're gonna slow release at that. So, got 8 minutes plugged in there, and we will hit pressure cook here. And let me get 8 minutes. And it'll just get started. Perfect. So while they're pressurizing, we'll get a chance to actually see them pressurizing, which is, we never really get a chance to do that. And that noise, if you don't have a pressure cooker, that's just the noise saying, hey, we're getting started. If you forgot anything, it's the last minute call, right? But I had a conversation with somebody today, a sweet gal I met. She's coming over, gonna do our windows. She owns a company for window washing. But she says, I'm so afraid to cook I just don't know what to cook. It's not that she's afraid, but you know, just pull it out. And if you've missed recipes, because I think we are officially 14 episodes away from hitting 100. So, I mean, we have a lot of recipes out there using these guys. So many. So if you're kind of lost for what to cook, go to my YouTube channel and always look at them. So it's Lifestyle by LauraJ. Just go to YouTube and type in Lifestyle by LauraJ. You will see a slew of recipes. Now, some of the early shows when we first got started, not so great. But we're remaking them and they're getting better. And thanks to all of you for following me and having just extraordinary patience. All right, so let's go ahead and let me show you how we're gonna do the salsa. Now this salsa recipe has been in our family since Brad and I have been married and going to Lalo's, which is a Mexican restaurant. Well gosh, there's so many of them now in Chicago, but it was one of the originals that we went to. And when we were moving, our first move, we were moving away to Pennsylvania, and we were regular customers, so we said, can you tell us what's in the recipe? And they were swearing us to secrecy. However, they missed out on a couple of things, and I've modified the recipe quite a bit since then. So you're gonna start off with tomatoes, and you're gonna hand dice them, and that's an important thing. I see a lot of people put their tomatoes in the food processor, and then it gets all yucky and squishy. So we don't want that. You really take the time, and that it does take time. So salsa is one of those things that if you have enough lime juice in it, it will last in your refrigerator for at least 2 weeks. So, you know, take the time because it's so worth it. Now, I have more tomatoes in this than what the recipe actually calls for. And the reason being is it's Cinco De Mayo on Sunday, and I work out, and we're having a little fun get together after working out at Pure Bar. And so I told our owner, Taylor, that I would make her some salsa for everybody. And she says, well, if you're making it, yeah, we'll take it. So that's why there's a little extra. So you're gonna start off with chopping out your tomatoes, right? And then you're going to get your food processor and you're going to get your whole cloves of organic garlic. And what we've done is we've just diced them up, right? And I'm going to be adding this, and I'm going to add it in here, but I'm not going to use all of it because salsa is one of those things, if you get too much of one ingredient, you kind of got to match it. So that's one of the important things. And in fact, what's so funny, my son, he said, "Mom, send me the recipe. I'm going to, I think they're doing a derby party actually." And so he said, "I need the recipe." So I wrote the recipe out for him, not thinking I could have looked it up in one of my previous shows, but I wrote it up for him and I realized, oh my gosh. So Braxton, if you're watching, I didn't add limes, but I sent you a text on that anyway. So as you add each ingredient, just stir it around so you can get everything really juicing up. I'd like to add the garlic second. Garlic and tomatoes, when they actually are starting to generate their acid, and just it helps the balance of the tomatoes really absorb that flavor. And garlic and salsa just are heaven. So that is like a for sure thing. And I know those of you who are watching that used to teach with me in Jacksonville in St. Johns County, I know you love the salsa, but now you can make it too. So that's going to be great. All right, so the next thing you're going to want to add, and again, we have chopped up our jalapenos. These are super strong. When I was talking to Brittany when she was here, I was just like, I had to put them far away from me because they were the fumes were getting to me, like getting into my throat. So because I know that, I was like, okay, this is going to be good because I'm not going to use a whole bunch until I see how the flavors really gel. And that might take a little bit of time. So be patient when you're putting your salsa together. It's well worth it. And stir that up. There is nothing better than the springtime derby, Cinco de Mayo, happening at the same time, and having spring just kind of warm up the earth and having these wonderful, delicious freshness of these tomatoes. And I don't know, we do have some very good tomatoes down here right now. They're pretty juicy and red, and but flavorful, very sweet. So I feel pretty fortunate in life that we have that. So I can see that in each bite, you're not going to have as much of the jalapeno. So I'm just going to add in 2 more scoops, and that's probably going to be enough. So how do you know your salsa is done correctly? Well, you gotta have to have a taste tester. One time I made salsa and I was cleansing, and it's like, okay, who's gonna taste this for me? It wasn't a smart idea. I know, right? You're probably saying, Laura, that was like not smart at all. Okay, so the next ingredient we're gonna grab over here are the onions. All right, so we have some diced organic onions. Again, I did these in the food processor. And the wonderful thing is, if you have any of these items remaining, when you serve your bowls, you have them aside so people can add more to them if they want some of the fresh. And if you're making other items during the week and for Cinco de Mayo, you have the extra. So I know that we'll be doing some special tacos. I'm gonna do some shrimp diablo on Sunday, and I know that we'll probably get a skirt steak and have some skirt steak tacos, and we'll definitely have those beans, and I'll probably have some of this rice that we have left over because the chicken will be gone out of it, so we'll just use that Mexican rice. It's just a perfect way, and that's what's beautiful. Mexican, when you make an authentic Mexican meal, it is time consuming. I'm not gonna lie, right? But what's really great is that there's so many things that you have left over that you can reuse and create a new recipe. That's why I say, you know, our family, we eat Mexican dishes all the time. I might as well, you know, playing, being an authentic Mexican, at least an authentic Mexican chef. Although I haven't tasked, oh, I'm sorry. The next ingredient, I'm just talking and not telling you, is cilantro. And I know a couple of you who follow me say, I'm allergic to cilantro, and you use something else, which is fine. Use a basil or whatever it is that works for you. So cilantro is what I've chosen, but you have to pick the leaves off of the stems. That does take some time. I know some people will actually put the whole thing in the food processor, but the stems really are pretty pungent and give it a different flavor than just the pure leaves. So I take the leaves, I pull them off, and then I chop them, hand chop them. So they're not too diced. I'd like to have the leaves, you know, a little bit chopped. And again, it's personal preference, of course, but that's just how we do. And again, save any of your, I actually have a whole nother bunch of cilantro because I really love how cilantro makes this salsa just pop. Really give that a good stir so you can see how well, you know, you want to see when someone dips their chip into your bowl of salsa that you set out, that everyone has a little bit of everything that is in the salsa. That's how a good salsa should be made. That's why it does take time to dice these tomatoes to make sure that they're not too big, because the chips are pretty small. Well, some chips are bigger than others, that's true. All right, that is looking so great. All right, so I'm just gonna make some room to put these limes over here so we can start to squish in the lime juice. And I have quite a few limes here. I cut them in half automatically so we didn't have to sit here and watch me do that. The very first show I ever did was salsa and my guacamole. And when we did that, and you're gonna use quite a few of these, so I'm just gonna continue to talk about that first show since it was so funny. At that time, I used my cell phone, which most of the shows in the first year, in fact all of the shows, until I moved here I didn't actually even get the Milo camera, so many of the shows are with my phone. But I actually had it on a selfie stick, which that's the fun part, and I had it in a flower vase, you know, for flowers, and it stuffed kitchen towels around it. That's how the home setup went, and I don't know. It was fun. I recently put it on my time hop because it came up in my time hop that it was the first show. And I'm amazed that 2 years has kicked by. I mean, I have recipes coming now in my time hop for 2 years now. We're on our 3rd year, which is hard to believe. But we, you know, a lot of times in our shows, well, we had vacations, so we didn't do a show every single week. Holidays, those things sometimes interrupt our ability to make a show happen. Or guests visiting. Ooh, almost got that all over the place. Okay. So the lime juice is one of those, just makes the salsa heaven, I think. And again, what's nice about this recipe is you can do how you like the flavors to melt and gel together and how hot you want it. Sometimes people really like hot, spicy. If you do, I've made a salsa once when we were at In-State to create. We used ghost peppers, I think, and I can't remember. Maybe if Annette you're watching, maybe you can say which other one we used. I know we used a ghost pepper that you brought, but then you also brought something that was hotter. I have to look. I might have to send you a message and ask which one they were if you're not watching. But oh my gosh, that was. We caution people, eat it at your own risk because it was extremely hot. But sometimes salsas can be that way. I have so many friends that absolutely love to have salsa like that. Hot, hot. I have friends who eat ghost peppers. Eat them. Mike Leithorn, if you're watching, I'm talking about you. If any of our Kentucky family is watching, they knew exactly who I was talking about, that's for sure. Okay, our last ingredient that we're going to be putting in is pink Himalayan salt. And again, like all of the other ingredients, this one, you don't want to have too much salt. So what I do, my trick is I do one layer on the top, just sprinkle it so that I see that everything is getting coated, but not too, just a fine, fine, fine coat. So then I put it down and I stir it completely all the way around. Because if you have too much salt, one batch I made, and I was so disappointed because we lived very far away from the grocery store. So it was impossible, well, it wasn't impossible, it just wasn't convenient. And I had too much salt in, and no one could eat it because it was just that bad. So if you ever do that, the trick to undoing that is add more lime juice and many, 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 many more tomatoes. So just go slow with the salt and then you won't have a problem. This has been my trick ever since I did that, when I made the mistake of having too much salt. Always good to do. And pink Himalayan salt is key. That is one of the key ingredients that we found as we've made it throughout the years. And I'm talking, well, let's see. Oh, I think we moved in 1990, I'm thinking, yeah. So we've been making this salsa for probably almost the entire time we've been married, actually, to be honest. So that's pretty good. We were married in '87, so crazy. Time flies. I just can't even believe it. Okay, so those are the recipes. Look in the post. I'm going to be posting pictures and images. I actually thought I had some of the sides that I put out, but I think I didn't want to have them sitting out too long. So we have some cheddar, not dairy-free cheddar, shredded cheddar that we're going to use as a side for the vegan vegetarian. We have some Mexican tricolor cheese that's organic. We have some Kite Hill almond milk yogurt, and we have some just Greek yogurt for the other one. I love using Greek yogurt. My husband he'll use sour cream, but I prefer the Greek yogurt. It just gives such a great flavor. And then we'll be using any of these other sides, maybe some cilantro on top, and making our bowls just so beautiful. And then the final thing that we're going to do, let me grab them over here, is I have a bowl full of avocados. And what I'm going to do for this evening, I'm going to go ahead and just slice them really super thin so that when you're serving it, like cut it in half and have it sliced thin, and then that'll be on the side of a bowl as well. So people can mix and match and put in what it is that they want. So that'll be how we'll be serving them. And that's it. So easy. It took more time to prep than it did to let me do this show with you. And I'm going to keep working on this salsa just to make sure it's absolutely perfect. I actually have a few more tomatoes over there that I thought, well, since I'm making some for people, and we may have a few people over on Sunday, I figure I better have a good healthy batch. And I know that we'll be, well, we'll have it for 2 weeks. so it's just going to last that long. So it's always nice to make a little bit extra batch. But I have in the recipe how many specific to have a normal batch will be half of this amount. So that will be actually in the recipe. Well, that's the end of the show. I want to thank everybody who's actually came on. I know we're trying different times, and today just happened to be a much later time, so I'll be curious to see how many people hit replay. So if you're watching it as a replay, go ahead and say replay. If you're watching this after we've already posted it and you're following me on YouTube, just say, you can make comments on YouTube. We'd love that. Love all the comments. If you are watching from YouTube, that's great, because That always helps people get to see that I have a cooking show, actually. So I love that, so thank you. Happy Thurby for everybody who's at the Churchill Downs. And I know a lot of you are going to make your own derby parties, and you asked me some questions about some hats. I had a few people who asked me about them. I actually have 2 of my hats that are at Derby weekend this weekend. So last time I wore one of them, I was on TV. So we'll see if we can see the hat. I don't know, there's so many hats. Anyway, if you're going to Derby, be safe this weekend for everybody who's up there. And those of you who are going to be having some festivities for Cinco De Mayo, please be safe, and everyone have a beautiful rest of their week and a gorgeous weekend. Thank you all, and I'm sending lots of love from my kitchen. All right, see you next week.